Hello there, Vic Benedict here. We're playing God of War 1 on God difficulty, and this is my guide and walkthrough. We're currently on part 35, The Traps of Madness. So the trap that they reference is this one here. And as long as you go really quickly, you don't screw up with, like when you try to grab the block, that you're always doing it very quickly and you're kicking it as far as you possibly can. You shouldn't be in too much peril over here. You need to do one final kick over here, just kick it a little bit and then jump off of it and then come up here. So yeah, so part 35, it's a long game, so there stands to reason that there would be quite a few parts, if you understand my meaning. And we are going to be moving on past the bluffs, and now we're going to be going up ever higher. And I think a lot of the video time in this particular case is devoted to dealing with the Satyrs, because you could easily just stone and then destroy them with your weapon, and and just have done with it. But there's a really stubbornness to my personality about using magic, and I can you talk, motherfucker? I just want to give some context, because I think it was like around at the very end of 2016, wasn't it, where I had uploaded a whole bunch of these videos for the no upgrade run, and then they all disappeared and people probably got upset. Now you might wonder, whatever happened to that? What happened exactly? Well, what happened exactly is that I got to the clones and stuck it out for a couple of hours. My console crashed. I had to restart it, and it gave you that stupid admonishment like it always does when you restart it after a power failure or whatnot. And then this game does not accommodate auto checkpoints the way the third game and Ascension do. So when I restarted my console, I had to re-beat Ares 1 to get to the clones, and he takes forever to beat because level 1 blades, it's a nightmare. And I'm not saying that I could have beaten the clones, because I genuinely think that I cannot do it. Now that's tricky territory when you think about something like that, because there was a point in time where I genuinely thought I would never be able to beat the Vanquish final bosses, and a year ago I was able to beat it on PC. Not that PC is easy or anything, but I mean, I know it can be easier with a mouse and keyboard, but do you understand my meaning? You just don't really know what you're capable of. But I do genuinely think that I don't have the abilities to beat the clones on a no upgrade run plus scenario. Now, the frustrating part of it is even if I wanted to dedicate so much time and effort into learning that fight, if my game crashes, or if it, you know what it's been doing a couple of times? It when you reset the checkpoint, it says loading, but it never gets out of the loading screen. So that's a mandatory console restart, and it's just frustrating because here a person would be trying to beat Ares or the clones, and then if something happens, they have to rebeat Ares 1 and then get to the clones again. Just to rebeat Ares 1 is just, it's not fun, especially when it takes so long, and no session is a guaranteed win. So I don't know, but the clones are what they are in this game now. I would prefer that if the clones weren't in the game. I would much prefer that if they weren't in the game. I would really like, and this is speaking from someone who's a little bit jaded from the whole fiasco about his no upgrade run. I would just as soon have them not be in there, because the clones are a difficult fight. But if you upgraded and things like that, and your magic is strong, you shouldn't have that much of a problem with it. So I really wish that I just wish that the clones weren't in this game. I really wish that. But that's where I'm coming from. So hopefully you can understand why I would be a little shameful in presenting this series again when I failed. It's hard to come back after a failure, but I try to keep it in perspective and just analyze it according to my own abilities and what I could do as a human being. Anyway, let's talk about this section over here. So these satyrs over here, do you see what I'm doing here? I'm actually pressing the circle button, and it's just absolutely killing my thumb. I always hate them for doing this. See, I failed it. You might say, well, how do you fail just pressing the circle button? It's not simple pressing that button. It's much more than that. Anyway, so this is a situation where there's there are two satyrs in this cave over here, one on the other side, and if you want to, you can fight. If you're crazy, you could fight both of these guys at the same time, but they're better fought just one after the other. Anyway, see when they stand on their staff, don't just go over to them and press the circle like I mentioned, because they retaliate, but you can go up to them. That was an accident. You can go up to them and do the uppercut swipe, and anyway, so once this second one is finished, you want to go up here, and by this time you should have these archers firing at you. So just remember that they don't fire at you. I hate these detonating arrows. The arrows are not a problem in this game until they start to detonate, because they can stick into surfaces, and then as you're walking by or just standing there, they can detonate and deal you damage. But anyway, try to keep as few of these archers on the screen at any given time. You can control it actually quite wonderfully, and then just hurl as many lightning bolts as you can over to them. Now, I've got my Zeus's Fury at level 2, and I don't think I'm going to be upgrading it any more than that. And it's a shame that you can't get those red orbs. They just, vaporize or whatever they do. But now for this part over here, I did want to mention that I have gone back and surreptitiously saved my progress, so that when I come over here, I'm not going to lose everything that I've just worked for, because I don't think they give you another checkpoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll. Well, first of all, I'm going to launch and then momentarily incapacitate the satyr by putting him on his back, and then I'm going to roll past him after I launch. I'll come back to him by and by, but for right now I just want to launch, move past, because taking damage is not acceptable to me. So what I did over there was I did the roll and then the X button to launch myself up into them, and then put them on their back too. Not getting hit on those archers is an art form sometimes. But after you clear all of that, you might want to go back and save your progress too. So, and I mention that because we have some of the blue Minotaurs coming up over here, and I've got to say that this enemy, it has to be one of my favorite enemies in any game. It's just such an interesting enemy that that they put into this game. It's really great. The only other thing I wanted to mention about these Satyrs is that you don't really see me using the square triangle to bounce these guys too much, only because it seems like as you chip away at their health, as they get to their final phase, and I'm not saying this is categorically true, but it just seems that as you damage them more and more, they start to block that square triangle attack. And if you haven't put up your guard immediately, because what you do is you press square triangle and then you assume that it's going to bounce, but it doesn't, because they block against it or armor through it. So what I would recommend is, as you're fighting this thing and as you are mentally tabulating how much health you think he's lost, no longer do the bounce move of square triangle. Just do this. I don't think that this throw does too much damage, and it would be really interesting to know how much when you just grab them and tap circle like a madman breaking your thumb, how much damage that deals compared to how much damage you deal him by grabbing him in the air. It seems like it might be similar, but if one damages more, that would be interesting to know. And as you can observe, when you're fighting this thing on this hill here, a lot of your grabs fail because the enemy is actually not behaving as it normally does because it's on a slant, and I think not all of its body being on the surface is causing it to malfunction a little bit. So always a concern when you play video games like that. You definitely want to fight it when it's not malfunctioning. But yeah, this is just taking an eternity to deal with this. I mean, talk about breaking your fucking thumb. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. See, I failed. And you might say, well, how in God's name do you fail that? I'm telling you, man, play this game and try it. It's ridiculous. It is so ridiculously fast that you have to pound on. I mean, you've got to pound on that controller. It's really awful. All right, so from this point on, we're almost going to be done with this session over here, and the whole spamming circle in the air when these guys are launched, bounced. It's a great strategy, because if you think about it, if you're doing a no upgrade run, these guys take a hell of a beating to take down. So when you're throwing them in the air, it doesn't matter what strength your blades are at, because you're not using the blades. Anyway, when you come down here, you're going to spawn a set of Satyrs. What I'm going to do is swiftly roll over here, grab these archers. If you don't know, hitting them will stop them from shooting. And when you get up to around about where the archers are, you actually get a checkpoint. So what I'm going to do now is just launch these Satyrs off as best as I can, and then I can tell you if now. See, the thing about if you're doing a no upgrade run is that you don't have access to the evades that you get while you upgrade. You don't get the L1 plus X. You don't get the rolling into the launch, the evade launch. So you don't have those. So you have to depend on bouncing or holding the triangle button down. And I'm not joking about the whole the launch doesn't work with holding triangle down. It just doesn't work that often. So it's really frustrating. But if you switch to the sword, you can actually do a great combo. But it's hard to get it to work because there's a lot to the combo. So if you want to know, it's when you're fighting the Satyrs or anybody you want to launch off with the sword, and this goes for people who are doing a no upgrade run. You want to do square, square, circle, and then L1 plus triangle. That will bounce and launch the Satyr off. Now, I don't think it's going to come to that when we get to Hades, because I have the blades upgrade. But I'll probably showcase it just in case people want to see that strategy. And you don't have to even do square, square, circle. You can just press L1 plus triangle, but square, square, circle, L1 plus triangle is actually, it can be faster and it's more consistent. So, all right, I broke this game's checkpointing system up here, so when we get down to where the cliff, or excuse me, the cave of madness begins, I am going to be taking damage because I inadvertently screwed myself over, and I'll talk about that in the next video. So the unfortunate thing is that, well, for me personally, was that I didn't get a good checkpoint over here, so it really made this next experience depressing. But at length, I just decided to take damage. You know, it's not always about taking no damage, it's about playing well. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. This has been the Traps of Madness. I will see you in the 36th video, which will be the Cave of Madness. Take care.